Welcome everybody and assalamu alaikum. My name is Omar Thabit and I am here with the staff from GEE Preparatory Academy, and we are looking forward to another great episode talking about important things that are happening in the school environment. Let me go ahead and introduce everyone who is in the building today. To the right of me, we got our good friend Ali over here. We appreciate him for being here today, and inshallah another great conversation with Ali on a show this time. Usually we have great conversations with Ali off the show. And then to the left of me, we have Basma and Shorouq. So go ahead and give them all a round of applause if you can, please, and thank you. Again, we're looking forward to another great show today. And before we continue it, we want to let you know how you can follow us. You can follow us on all of our socials. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Apple and Spotify podcasts, excuse me, all on Oz Media. And our website is at ozmedia313.com. And then if you want to follow GE Preparatory Academy, you can follow them on Instagram. And of course, you can find them on GE website as well. So before we even begin the show, Yusuf, can we start off with the ad of GE Preparatory Academy? And then we're going to officially get the show rolling. GE Preparatory Academy. You have a kid that wants to work but can't because they have to go to in-person classes? Sign them up for GE Prep. You have a kid who plays travel sports and doesn't have time to attend in-person learning? Sign them up for GE Prep. GE promotes mastery of the 21st century skills, literacy, integration of technology, problem solving, and inquiry thinking. The GE mission focuses on what it considers to be essential character traits for the development of the whole child: respectful, responsible, tolerant, collaborative, creative, curious, empathetic, and ethical. It is the goal of GE to graduate students with the skills and character traits needed to be successful in college, work, and life. Online learning is the new way of learning. You can sign your kid up for GE Prep by going to their website at ge-edu.com. Okay, we are officially back. So let's go ahead and introduce everyone. First of all, let me introduce the show. So today's topic is all about learning pods and social emotional learning. If you hear me say the acronyms SEL or the letters SEL, it stands for social emotional learning, what parents need to know. So that's what today's topic is all about. But before we even dive into that, Ali, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it that you do at GE Prep?
Yep. First of all, I want to thank you for having us. We look forward to this conversation about what we offer. My name is Ali Sultan. I'm a site coordinator at GE Preparatory. I've been with the program for about 8 years, and to see the way it's grown over the 8 years from pre-COVID till after COVID, and seeing everybody go into the online and hybrid learning environment it's beautiful to see. We offer a lot of different things at GE Preparatory. My specific role as a site coordinator, I just try to make sure that all of our centers are functioning like they need to be functioning.
Love that. Love that. And then we're going to move on to you, Basma. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and just what you do at GE Prep?
So I am the Dean of Students at GE Preparatory. I don't know that I could specify a certain function because I do just about everything. A lot of student-related stuff, anything that's, student-centered pretty much comes back to me, make sure that they're, working through their courses, just kind of following up with our staff to make sure they're, doing what they should be doing in terms of attaining to our students' needs. I myself have been with GE Preparatory for about 5 years now. I started with them actually just before COVID, and I know that this was a program that existed before COVID, so it didn't start because of COVID. That's a misconception that a lot of people have. And so we were doing hybrid learning, before the pandemic hit. And it serviced a lot of students that unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to kind of continue their traditional school setting. It's really helped a lot of students along the way, and, given the opportunity for students to get a high school diploma, which they may not have had that opportunity otherwise. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm glad to be able to service these students. I feel like I have a bigger sense, in the education role to being able to work with these students.
So it's safe to say that GE had the vision before it actually turned into fruition for a lot of other schools,
For sure.
You get GE is the trailblazer in the online game. So that's for sure something that to be proud of. I mean, knowing the community, I think that was a great decision by GE.
I agree 100%.
And Shorouq, appreciate you for being here today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your role?
Thank you for having us. So my name is Shorouq. I'm an academic coordinator. I mostly work with middle school and high schoolers. I'm in charge of their classes, schedulings, looking at what credits they need to graduate, make sure everyone's on track. We work closely with students, whether they need emotional help, academic help, making sure everyone's focused. We have kids that come in from all over the U.S., sometimes from international, different countries. We want to make sure that they get their high school diploma, so we try to make sure that they're scheduled accordingly. We have workshops with kids. It's more of the academic perspective with students.
And you know, a lot of schools may wonder like how many roles you guys have for online learning, and they might assume like how many students do they even have to have these many people in different roles. If you don't mind answering that, I don't know if y'all know a specific number, or does anyone know?
I mean, our numbers fluctuate from year to year. I believe currently this year we have over 500, almost close to 600 students enrolled. We've definitely seen it grow. You know, from when I first started, you know, we were down lower than 500. And, you know, over the years, our numbers continue to increase. You know, the hope is that people find value in this, and, you know, they don't give up on education, and they realize that there's, you know, something that they can do in terms of continuing their education, and come to us and allow us to be able to be part of that for them.
And the important thing is having or giving them alternatives. You know, I think
Absolutely.
those are the things that, especially again, knowing your community, knowing your parents, knowing their families, knowing the students, and knowing how to address whatever needs that they may need. And so, kind of relating to that, we're going to talk about learning pods, like I said, and social and emotional learning. So, if you don't mind, Shorouq, we can start off with you on this one, and that is, how did the concept of learning pods take off, and what makes them appealing to GE parents and the students and their families?
Okay, so what appeals to parents is mostly the sense of belonging, because in the world today that we live in, it's mostly disconnected, whether it's technology or the social life that we have. So parents want a school environment where their child is known and they're more focused on, they're supported by their teachers and their peers, and it's about creating more of a school family. So they want that more one-on-one relationship between a teacher and a kid. And since the pod classrooms are more smaller than what your brick and mortar schools would be, or like the public schools, there's a better relationship, a strong relationship with the teacher and the student, and also with the teacher and the parents. So they can ask more questions, they're more involved. And some of the pods, especially in the middle school level, the teacher's with them for 3 years. So that relationship that's built between the teacher and the student is a family relationship.
And I probably should have started off for those that may not know what a learning pod is. I know you kind of explained it. Can you maybe give a even more precise definition of what exactly a learning pod is when it comes to education?
So a learning pod is more of like a smaller classroom. You know, I believe we probably don't have more than 12 students in a classroom. And it's very similar to your traditional type of learning, if you will, but it's more individualized. And so that student is now getting more attention in terms of like where they're at as far as grade level is concerned. You know, they're still getting their standard instructions that they would be getting in a normal classroom, if you will. But it's more centered towards them. It's more individualized. And so even though sometimes we may have that mixed classroom where people, you know, may kind of shy away from that because they may not feel like their child is getting that, you know, grade level instruction, but all of our instruction is geared towards that student individually. And I think that's what brings a lot of families to that pod center, if you will, because they're looking for more of that individualized instruction for their students. It's more attention based. It's more, you know, community oriented, more
Parent involvement.
Parent involvement, exactly. And so GE Prep saw this as not as a temporary fix, but as a chance for us to more formalize our, you know, impactful learning model, if you will.
Love that. And Ali, do you want to add on to that maybe just from your perspective? Why do you feel like learning pods are more appealing to GE parents and their families and the students?
So I've done a lot of assessment with GE Preparatory throughout my years working with GE Preparatory. And speaking just from the data perspective of it, our pod saw 100% growth across all parts of the NWA, reading, math, all different areas of it. Every single student in our pod program showed an increase in improvement in their scores. So just to speak from the data of it, I know that it works.
So I just want to add to that because I feel like this appeal for the pod is threefold. So we have our personalized attention, which again, is very student-centered, student-focused. It builds strong relationships. That teacher and that student now have that stronger relationship because the teacher isn't dealing with those 30 students that you see in like that normal type of classroom. You've got a much more individualized relationship between the student and the teacher. And so that helps build that relationship between the students and teachers, especially for some of those kids that might shy away from wanting to build that relationship in a bigger classroom with their teachers as well as their peers, because a lot of kids, will shy away from, wanting to approach their peers in a bigger classroom, whereas now they're in a smaller classroom and they have that opportunity to build those relationships with their peers. And I think the most important one as a parent personally is that parent relationship. You have much more collaboration between the parent and the teacher in the classroom and making sure that, my child's needs are being met because it's a smaller classroom. I don't have to worry about the teacher needing to worry about all those other 30 students. She now only has a handful of students that she can give that attention to. And that as a parent would make me feel more comfortable knowing that my kid is going to get a little bit more attention than if they were in a bigger setting.
Honestly, hearing these responses, it seems like that learning pods might be the new trend to go. I know it's not easy to have, 12 students to each class and have a specific teacher to teach those kids because of the, the education field and the dying need of more educators in the field. But, as parents, if you have the opportunity, it seems like that definitely is the new trend to start leaning towards. And so going off of that, if you don't mind, Basma, I'm gonna go back to you on this one. Are more families in the community moving, toward, I guess, the learning pods because of concerns with social emotional learning, or is it about something else? And I guess before you answer that, can you just give a brief description of what is social emotional learning?
So social emotional learning has been like the topic trend, for the last couple of years coming through the schools. We focus on that social aspect of students. And I think, it's something that has needed attention for a very long time. And we're now starting to see that in our schools with our students, especially after the pandemic. Personally, as a parent, I definitely feel like after the pandemic, these kids shied away from that social, just being in a social setting. We were home for so long that coming back into the schools was difficult for some of these kids and to be able to socialize. So we're working on integrating, lessons of social emotional learning for our students, kind of getting them to open up about, their emotions and, being more aware of what's within them.
I love that. And then Ali, I'll go off that to you now. Same question to you. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that parents are starting to reject traditional education, traditional schools, because the social emotional part of the pod system is something that really attracts parents to it. Parents focus on developing those skills for those students, like problem solving skills, working together, collaborating. All that stuff is what our pods are designed to do in an everyday setting for your student.
And then Shorouq, anything else you want to add on to that? I know they kind of hit a lot of them.
They kind of covered it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do look for, like he said, parents are looking for an environment that's proactive. So it does teach kids how to collaborate together, how to conflict resolve situations, and resilience, obviously within a controlled environment. But yes.
So if I can just add to that.
Yep, for sure.
So our pod program, it allows, academics and character development to be integrated in their everyday learning. So there isn't like that add-on, if you will, where, in some other settings, they kind of do that as an add-on and, it's a separate thing that they do daily. For us, it's something that's integrated every day in their learning.
I like that. So I guess one of the causes for concern when you hear about social learning pods is that, the classroom is a little smaller than usual. So do you feel like the kids are maybe isolated from the wider community while being in a learning pod, or what are your thoughts on that part?
Generally, our learning pods belong to a bigger program. So it's often that our pods will meet together for like bigger school-wide events. Like we often have Ramadan, like I don't want to get religious with it, but we have different things that we do throughout the school year that incorporate all the students from all the different pods, whether it's field trips that we take the students on, whether it's events that we host at our different sites, so that all of our pod students can come and attend them. So we have that interaction with our different pod systems, and all of our staff travel between the pods. So one day I'll be at this pod, the next day I'll be at this pod, and Basma will be at this pod. So it's definitely something that they get a lot of interaction with people, not just inside their pod, but outside the pod as well.
And then Shorouq, same thing to you is, do you feel like, these learning pods handle social development and ensure kids are isolated, like from the wider community?
So the key word is diversity. Our pods are diverse. So we do have a variety of like different cultures, and kids get this experience of dealing with kids. So even though it's not as large as a regular school, there's enough kids in the room for you to learn how to socially interact with them, how to talk to them. If you're having issues, it's easier for them to express themselves versus being in a large classroom setting where they're more anxious. So they learn over time, okay, these are the kids I have in my classroom. It takes some time to adapt. They get used to them. They're very comfortable with them. They're comfortable with their teacher, with the staff that's around them. So they're more able to express how they feel, which is actually a good thing. It's better than being in a school setting that has like 30 kids where the kid's just shy and doesn't want to say anything, doesn't want to communicate their opinion clearly.
Our pods are like a home base, though. They're not like an island where kids are like secluded from like everyone else. I mean, we try to integrate as much as we can so that, the pods don't reflect being alone. And as dean of students, I try to like do the best to be able to like incorporate different activities for them, monthly, weekly, whatever it is, so that, they're getting that same experience that they would be getting, elsewhere.
Don't mind me if I'm asking, or if this may be even a silly question, so when you guys have pods, these are in person?
Yes.
Okay. Because for some reason I was just thinking like this may just be online as well.
No.
So these are in person. So these students are coming to a specific location.
Correct.
And
they're
learning
in our GE buildings, or learning centers, if you will. And so those students are coming to us on site daily. They come to us daily. And they have, our staff are there. So they have a teacher that's in the classroom with them. They might have a parapro that's with them. Our admin team, is there on site with them. They see them.
Math specialist.
Special ed comes in.
Yep. Yeah. And we have interventionists, that come in and work with students, again, based on, their grade level, meeting them at their needs and, giving them that more individualized instruction again. And that's the best part about these pods, is that they're so individualized that, I may need just a little bit more help than my peer who's in the same grade level. So I'm going to get that extra instruction that I need to be able to make sure that my needs as a third grader, fourth grader, sixth grader, whatever it is, are being met.
If you don't mind sharing, like what are like the locations you guys have where GE Preparatory can be reached, or where they teach at,
So we have several different centers. We are in Dearborn, we're in Hamtramck, we're in Warren, we're in Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor. No, Ypsilanti.
Ypsilanti.
And I believe that's it. Auburn Hills is our newest pod-based learning center this year, if you will.
So you're talking about 5 different locations where you guys give the opportunity for families and the students to, pretty much take advantage of these learning pods. So, all right, awesome. I'm these are questions that are coming up to me that I feel like parents probably would wonder about, or I want to ask about. And so going back to you, Shorouq, if you don't mind, we're starting off with you on this one. Is our learning pods financially accessible for working class families, or do they mostly serve, the affluent communities?
So in our pods, they're part of a public charter school, which means there's no additional fees. So it is affordable and for everyone.
There you go.
Yep.
You're at home and watching.
All they care about is the free. It's not, you don't have to pay. There's no tuition, just like everybody else advertises these private pods. They cost a lot. This is part of a charter public school, so we are free.
Sign us up. It's over. All right. No, all jokes aside, I think, that's an important question. I mean, I don't know if anybody else want to touch on that specific question. It's only so much you can say about that, but go ahead, Ali.
Our mission is to provide like affordable education for all students, regardless of background, make education the same and make it high quality for everybody in every community.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, that's something that GE has always been doing. And so kudos to you guys all, and shout out to everyone from GE who, they definitely put that as one of the top things in the forefront. And so I do want to give y'all a break because I know y'all been firing away answers to all the questions, and we're going to still run the GE ad one more time just in case someone missed it the first time. So Yusuf, if you can give a shout out to GE Preps ad, and then we're going to keep things rolling. Shout out to GE. GEE Preparatory Academy. You have a kid that wants to work but can't because they have to go to in-person classes? Sign them up for GE Prep. You have a kid who plays travel sports and doesn't have time to attend in-person learning? Sign them up for GEE Prep. GEE promotes mastery of the 21st century skills, literacy, integration of technology, problem solving, and inquiry thinking. The GEE mission focuses on what it considers to be essential character traits for the development of the whole child: respectful, responsible, tolerant, collaborative, creative, curious, empathetic, and ethical. It is the goal of GEE to graduate students with the skills and character traits needed to be successful in college, work, and life. Online learning is the new way of learning. You can sign your kid up for GEE Prep by going to their website at gee-edu.com. All right, so while we were on break, Ali brought up sports pods, which I think I mentioned it in the ad, but I didn't really know too much about it. And so can you tell us what these sports pods are?
Yep. So I want to say before the pandemic, we had a basketball program reach out to us and say, hey, we're interested in having a basketball program, but we also want you guys to come and take care of the academics for us. So this kind of brought a light bulb to us and was like, we can create something called sports pods. So we partnered with different sports organizations, baseball players, we have some basketball players, different kind of athletes that focus all their time on becoming D1, going into college, playing a professional sport, but they want to still get that academic. They still want to make sure that they're getting all their, their math, their reading, so that they're prepared for college in that way as well. So our sports pods became kind of that environment for them to be able to train during the day and then do their academics whenever they can fit it in, whether it's in the afternoon, whether it's in the morning, in between their workouts, in between their trainings. And so this is something that we're seeing an increase in as we're starting to expand our program.
Yeah, for sure. As a sports parent, my kids travel a lot for sports. And there's a lot of times where sometimes we are not able to necessarily go, and be part of a long weekend to be able to participate in sports. But I feel like these sports pods are now giving that flexibility to families who want their kids to continue to be in these travel teams and, be able to go away in the middle of the year for a week. I know last year we had a student who was a boxer, and, he was part of our sports pod, and he traveled for a week. He went to Las Vegas for a national tournament for boxing, and he was able to continue doing all of his work, meeting with his teachers, getting all of his educational needs. At the same time, he was able to do what he loves most, which is boxing. And so this is providing families that extra, flexibility, if you will, in terms of what they can do with their kids' lives.
And so to wrap that up, I know a lot of people too. Like if you got a kid that wants to play or wants to pursue a, career in terms of college and collegiately and play at the next level of sports, this is a chance for them to still make sure that they're taking care of their academics, but also you're able to focus on whatever sport it is that you're trying to pursue in the next level and hone in on it a little bit more than a normal person who's attending the normal public school. So kudos for y'all for that. That's actually a great idea, and hopefully that's one that's gonna continue to grow when more people hear about it and learn about it.
Imani Bates come through our program.
Really? Yeah. Imani Bates. Yeah. Shout out to Imani Bates. Supposed to be MSU transferred and stuff happens, and then he went to, I think, Eastern. And
he's a Philadelphia 76er.
Now he's a current Philadelphia 76er. I believe he was drafted by Cleveland, and then he's a current Philadelphia 76er. Shout out to Imani Bates. There you go. Imani Bates did it. The opportunity is there for you to do it as well. So moving on from that, we'll go back to, I believe it's back on you now, Basma. And so for parents, now we're shifting more towards the social emotional learning aspect of this show. So for parents who hear about social emotional learning but aren't sure what it is, I know we kind of dived in what it is, but what does it look like in a GE classroom?
Okay. So again, as I mentioned earlier, for us, social emotional learning is not, something that we cover for 30 minutes on a Friday with our students. It's very integrated. A student who might be frustrated with a math problem, for example, we meet that student at their need. to try to work through that math problem at the same time, addressing what it means to be frustrated with something and how to kind of step back and not allow yourself to be frustrated, but take it one step at a time and be able to like work through that math problem that you're frustrated with, knowing how to ask for help, saying that you're frustrated. It's just those simple things instead of, just completely shutting down.
I like that. Anything else you want to add to that one? And then how about you?
No, just remember, when you hear the term SEL or social emotional learning, you think it's a complicated term, but in fact, it's just teaching kids how to succeed in school and in life. So anything that happens to them, it's basically just to make sure they're successful. So it's not that complicated to know what the SEL term stands for.
And for those that like might think that it's actually harder for a place that is more focused on students, where like for instance learning pods, like to me it's actually the opposite. I think when you have a smaller classroom and you can now focus a little more on that social emotional learning aspect, whereas a bigger classroom, you got 25 students, let's be honest, how many teachers got time to like sit back and be like, listen, this is, you really don't, because you got 24 other kids in the classroom who needs your attention as well. And so I can see how that actually, the social emotional learning part, it can definitely be even better in the learning pod area. So with that said, going from there, we'll go back to you, Shorouq. So what are the goals of social emotional learning? And what are the main concerns parents have about it? All
right. So the core goals are universal and practical. We use the 5 main competencies of a guide. So we have self-awareness. Make sure that the kid, can you identify your own emotions and your strengths? Can you manage your stress? Self-management. Can you manage your stress? Can you control your impulses? So the way that you react to certain situations. Are you aware of your surroundings? So social awareness. Can you understand other people's perspectives? Can you show empathy, which is a very difficult thing for kids these days, especially with the whole COVID and the pandemic, where they're not in a social setting as often as like where we were raised. So they don't understand other people's emotions. It's just about me. So this is something that's very important in this setting. Relationship skills. Can you communicate clearly? Can you tell me what's wrong? Can you resolve this emotion that you're having? Can you have respect to others while you're resolving the conflict that you're currently feeling, and making decisions, making sure it's ethical and safe.
Love that. Ali, you want to add on to that? And like maybe more so the parents' concerns. Like what are some of the stuff parents are worried about when it comes to, the pods and the social emotional learning aspect of it?
I'll talk about the concerns, and then Basma can talk about why they shouldn't be concerned. So some of the concerns that parents have is social emotional learning taking time away from academics? Is it taking away time from math and from reading? Another concern that they have is the school overstepping? Is the school teaching my kids things that I wouldn't teach my kids? So these are some concerns that parents have about social emotional learning, and Basma can talk about why these shouldn't be concerns at all.
So for us, it's a partnership. It's not a specific ideology, rather than universal skills. It's full transparency with our families and our students, and we want to be able to allow the families to feel comfortable knowing that we're not taking anything away from them from what they're doing at home. And our data, just by doing what we're doing with our students, has been very overwhelming, and we see a lot of positive feedback from the students, from the families, and we focus on them being able to be more persistent and collaborative in terms of our relationship building with them at home.
And so how do you like try to like, are you guys in connection with the parents, contact with the parents? Like how do you know what it is that they're trying to teach at home and you're trying to make sure that you're not veering off of that while you're in schools? Or are you just kind of like doing what you're doing and then, it kind of aligns with what the parents are kind of doing at home as well?
So everything we do in our schools, all of our lessons, everything that we do, there's full transparency for families, and they're able to see what we do and what we teach our kids. And my door is always open for families and for parents who have any issues or any concerns. I mean, they're always welcome to come in and express their concerns to me. And we meet everyone, where they're at. And so if they have an issue with something, we address it, we talk about it. If someone's not comfortable with something, we alter things and we change things. At the end of the day, this is a partnership between us, the families, and again, I go back to saying I'm a parent, right? And for me, it takes a village to raise these children. And so we have to work together, and we all kind of have to be on the same page. And I feel like we genuinely do that, with our students and our families.
Great points.
I think I want to piggyback on that. just to go back to our pod style learning and the term of in social emotional learning, I think the diversity of our pods, and each of our pods kind of has educators in that pod that belong to that community. So we're very aware of what the community wants in that area. The pod system themselves will help select the teacher that they the teacher is generally from the community itself. So there's always that community aspect to it. They can talk to her at the store, they can talk to her at home, they can talk to her at school. So parents have that very close connection with our teachers because our teachers are from the community that they serve.
And so, how can a parent's child, school, like how can a parent tell if their child's school is using the SEL? And I guess what kind of questions should they be asking teachers or administrators? Like, basically, how can a parent know like this school is actually focusing on SEL?
Yeah, you got to kind of pay attention to the language that the school uses. So if the school talks about growth mindset, talks about not only the academic part, but the whole child approach, these are easy ways to tell that the school is invested in the social emotional learning of the student as well as the academic learning of the student.
Do you want to add on to that, or?
Yeah, so just like he said, parents should always feel empowered to ask questions. They shouldn't shy away from it. Some of the questions they can ask is like, how do you help children resolve conflicts in a classroom? Or what is the approach to discipline? How do you guys discipline the kids if anything happens in a classroom setting? How do you foster a sense of community and belonging in your classroom? Can you share the materials or curriculum? So you are allowed to, as a parent, to ask for details of what your child is actually learning in a classroom. You shouldn't be afraid to ask these questions. This is your child who's spending 8 hours out of an entire day, which is most of his day. So you should feel comfortable enough to come up to, whether it's the administrators or your teacher, and ask them questions. So what do you guys do when my son acts up in the classroom, or he doesn't know how to do his homework, or he's frustrated, or he got into a fight with another kid? So these are questions you should be comfortable, and the way that the school answers you back tells you a lot about how the approach is with SEL.
And another thing they can do is look to see if they have like advisory meetings. Do they have morning meetings? Do they have a character education program that they use? Every school who is doing a social emotional learning curriculum, if you will, has all of these things. And so those are things that parents can look for as well.
And I'm glad you guys are mentioning how the parents have the right to ask questions, because some schools make parents feel uncomfortable with, asking questions. They feel like, why are they questioning us? We know what we're doing. And also, I think people need to understand that, some of these, I tell people this all the time, especially when I was an educator, like some of these kids, they see you more than they see their parents.
100%.
Very true.
And so especially like if you want to calculate, like don't calculate the sleep time, by the time they get home, it's 3-4 o'clock, they go to bed at 8, you're there with you for 8 hours. They're probably with their parents for 4 or 5 in a day. So, I mean, at least weekdays. So that's what I mean. Like it needs to be like the famous line, it takes a village to raise a child, and it needs to be one of that kind of mindset. And I don't know if I actually asked this specifically, but if anyone wants to answer this, like what are the benefits of focusing on SEL with the student? Like what is something that they take away maybe once they graduate, or at least when they leave your classroom? You feel like they are better students? Like what is it?
It's teaching self-management. I think that's one of the biggest things that, as a young kid, they don't have the skills to be able to do that. And so if we don't build those skills as a young kid, we struggle with that as adults. And if we can't learn how to self-manage as we're going through, early childhood, adolescence, your preteen years, that's all building into how we become into our adult life. And so if we don't start that at a young age, we'll struggle with that as adults.
Does anyone else want to add on to the importance of it?
I can talk about it from the perspective of seeing it happen in real time, like seeing our students go from students who are asking questions and needing things every day to being able to do things on their own, to being able to now lead other students, now guide other students. Seeing that happen in real time, it kind of vindicates the approach of the social emotional learning.
And for you, Shorouq, it's like, I know it's kind of going back to like, parents and being worried about the SEL program. Like maybe not with GE specifically, maybe it was. Were there any like red flags with SEL learning that parents raised questions about, or like maybe that you guys seen like in professional development where they're like, do not do this, by the way, and then you're like, all right, we'll make sure we're going to stay away from this right here?
So, because our approach is still built from the ground up, we kind of do like we're in partnership with our community, just like Ali said that. So we know what the community wants, we know what they need, we know what the red flags are. We try to stay away from them. We don't have a one size fits all approach. It's honestly as it goes, and as we grow as a school, and the more kids that we have, and the more we see, the more we're more involved in our community, we know what to avoid and what to keep going at or build up on.
Yep.
So.
How about you, Basma? You want to add on to that? Anything else you want to mention?
I mean, so we develop our approach internally, right? We use a curriculum review process that allows our staff, our community, our parents to be part of, that feedback that they give to us in terms of, what they want their kids to be learning, what they don't want their kids to be learning. And, we definitely take all that into consideration. And again, try to meet our families. It's a partnership. And I'm going to go back and say that again. We are all about being, partners with our communities, partners with our families, partners with our students. So, we definitely want to make sure that, all their goals are, across the board, we're all on the same page.
And so, Ali, going off of that, I guess the final question, at least that I have here for you guys, and we can ask any other questions or anything you'd like to mention too. You guys are more than welcome to mention is, I guess, advice, right? And I would love all of you to give the advice. So what advice would you give parents who feel overwhelmed by the choices and the controversies around SEL and the learning pods? Like, if there's parents listening to you right now, what is it that you will tell them that make them feel comfortable? Like, you know what? I want my kids to go through this program.
I'll talk about it. I'm a parent of 2 young kids that are going to be going to school in the next few years.
Inshallah.
And inshallah, I plan to put them in a pod style program just because I've seen the success of it. So I don't know if anything I can say can vouch more to the fact that I will actually put my own kids in a pod program, but that's how much I believe in it. The social emotional learning part of it, the collaboration, problem solving, all that aspect, I love it. So it's something that I highly recommend to parents, and I tell my friends all the time, look into pod style learning environments because you will love them.
And Shorouq, we'll go with you now. I guess what would be your advice for parents who feel overwhelmed by the choices and controversies surrounding SEL and learning pods, and how would you convince them that, hey, this is the way to go?
So as a mom, you are the expert of your own kid. So you know what makes them comfortable. You should look for the environment and the partnership that would make my child flourish and thrive and be successfully academically. So you are the person in control. So if it's something that you feel this is the right decision, then it is the right decision. Just like Ali said, from experience, he's seen it like first sight. So he's seen how it works. He's seen that it's amazing, and he recommends it for his own kid. So as a mom, I know what works well for my kid. So if this is something that you think is going to work amazing for your kid, that's your decision. You should trust it.
Don't even butter it up or nothing.
No, just trust it.
This is your kid. This is
your
what we
decision.
provide. Exactly. I like that. Straight to the point. You want to add on to that?
I'm going to say go straight to the source. Ask those difficult questions. Don't rely on social media to give you the information. Again, I agree with Shorouq 100%. It's your kid, right? You know what's best for them. So you know what, at the end of the day, what you want them to achieve and what you're looking for. Ask the hard questions. As a parent, people will call me Mama Bear because I'm the one that's, out there asking those hard questions and making sure that my kids' needs are being met because I know what they need. And so if I'm not there asking those questions and advocating for my kid, you may have the best interest for them as their educator, but at the end of the day, I'm going to know what's best for them and want to be able to collaborate with you so that we, do achieve all of their goals as well.
I love that. And listen, hopefully, I believe we have a 10-part series scheduled with GE, inshallah. And so this was just one out of the 10. And I feel like there's so much other things that can be discussed, but that's why we, inshallah, can break it down to 10 different parts. But first of all, can we give them a round of applause, Yusuf? They did such a great job. And I will give you an opportunity to say any final word and final comments because I don't want to forget anything, and if I did forget anything, please feel free to chime in when that time comes. And I just want to say one more time, so today's topic was all about learning pods and social emotional learning, what parents need to know. We wanted to educate you on the topic, and just know that it is provided at GE Preparatory Academy with 5 different locations, by the way, so they're definitely at a city near you, or actually a city that you actually are living in. So be sure to give them a follow. They're on social media. I believe Instagram for sure. You guys have Facebook too, or is it Facebook as well? So Instagram and Facebook, which is GEE Preparatory Academy. So shout out to them. Of course, you can find this episode on ozmedia313.com. I will assume it will also be on GE-EDU's website as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Shout out to GE Prep for being the sponsor of this episode as well. So this is time for the final words. Final comments. We'll start from left to right. So Shorouq, we'll start with you. Any final words and final comments you'd like to mention?
So our ultimate goal is to help our families raise capable, kind, and resilient kids. So people who actually are prepared for college, career, and their life in the future when they graduate. We believe that this approach is fully integrates social, emotional, and academic learning. And we invite any families to come over and obviously see it for themselves.
Love that. Basma.
I'm just going to add that, our pod program isn't a trend. It's a deliberate return to our community-focused model of education. We are committed to providing an environment that delivers academic excellence by ensuring every student feels safe, supported, and known.
Love that. And then Ali.
Thank you for having us. And just one last thing I want to touch on for GE Preparatory. We always have events going on. Follow us on social media. Come check us out. Even if you don't sign up today, come say hi, come ask about what we have going on, and learn more about what we have to offer your student. So
can you let us know, like, how can they reach out? What's a email, maybe a website? A phone number?
Yeah, for sure. Through Facebook, Instagram, you guys can just shoot us a DM, shoot us a message. Our locations are listed on our website, so you guys can go on our website and see what locations we have, all the addresses throughout Metro Detroit. So you guys can come to any of our centers, ask us any questions you guys may have, and we look forward to having you guys having those conversations about how we can help your children achieve their goals.
Well, there we have it. All right. One last time, today's topic was all about learning pods and social emotional learning. What parents need to know. We had Ali, we had Basma, and we had Shorouq. Thank you for coming today. And inshallah, like I said, this is part 1 of a 10-part series that we'll be doing with GE and GE Prep. And we hopefully will cover many different topics of the educational field. And if there is something that you would like for us to cover, and I can relay the message to all of them, you can message us as well. Reach out to us and be like, hey, maybe you should talk about this when it comes to school and learning. And we would love to discuss it. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all next time.